Okay, so we're talking this week about graduation group rates, um, and the problems that they have with kids dropping out, especially in inner cities. Um, so anyhow, we were supposed to read the graduation rates are deceiving, and the first question basically just says, read this, give 7 suggestions, and then it goes on to number 2, which says the article suggests that graduation rates need to be transparent and explain why students drop out. Okay, so it explains why students drop out, I guess. I don't know. No, we're supposed to.
Well, it's suggesting that that it's important to know in order to help.
Okay, right. Okay, so
why they drop out, like the book does, but.
Okay, so Marissa was telling me right before we got here that she has actually served a mission. Where was it?
What? It was in Houston, Texas.
In what? Houston, Texas. That's where my daughter just moved. And she said she's seen how these, how it works with the inner city neighborhoods and things like that, and that they really are, like the young Black kids really are stereotyped and told that they can't, that they'll never make it, and they believe that, and so they don't really.
It's not so much that they're like told they'll never make it, but it's like the attitude. It's no one says like you'll never make it, because everybody wants everybody to make it, but it's totally the attitude within the schools. It's the attitude within the neighborhoods. Like it's just, I guess sometimes they're told they won't make it. Some kid is like, I want to do this, and his parents are like, well, that's dumb because I didn't, probably won't, so like, and it's an overall attitude.
So it's a perception, would you say? Would you call it a perception? They have a self-fulfilling
prophecy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Okay, so some of the reasons the book names are like failed courses. So how would understanding, like that kids are failing courses, how would that understanding help schools, help kids keep from dropping out? Yeah. How would all these things fix the dropout rate, an understanding of those?
Well, you can't fix the problem that you don't know what the problem is.
Right.
Like the problem is the kids are dropping out, but if you don't know why, then what are you going to do about it? So,
right.
When you like kids are failing courses, well, let's figure out why they're failing courses. Are they failing courses because of like lack of nutrition and like they can't pay attention because they're not sleeping enough, or are they failing courses because they simply don't care? Or like, we got to figure out why. The why behind the why,
Right.
Yeah, because even when having already dropped out because of failed courses, then they probably don't even know that they have the opportunity to retake or to fix that issue so that they continue back on, graduating and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the things I wrote down is that, some of the things I wrote down is they need to know what the family problems are, what their situation is like at home. Is there poverty? Is there abuse? Is there only one parent in the home? Are they failing classes because they're working and they, just like you say, they can't get enough sleep because they're working an extra job, and so they're too tired to do well? Are they just not capable of passing the course? One of the main reasons for that is just holes in education.
Like special education,
Huh? Yeah, and so there's a lot.
I was agreeing, saying, yeah.
Now, what are you saying?
I was just agreeing, saying like if they're having a hard time just with the knowledge of it, then that's also where like the special education comes in that we talked about this week as well.
Right.
Like special education just for like mentally retarded kids, it's for it's for those who struggle in school, you know? There's definitely a stigma that comes with special education, but with that extra help, those kids who are having a hard time, like understanding their courses, they'll receive that help pass their courses, you know?
And I see like some remedial courses. They could do remedial courses that are, you know, like maybe on the junior high level. Because I think anybody can start into education at either the middle school or the junior high level and succeed. I mean, there are kids that I've known that have been homeschooled that their parents didn't ever teach them anything. And I'm not bashing homeschool because I homeschooled my kids. But there were parents that didn't teach their kids, you know, and then they dumped them into the school system at, you know, middle school or junior high. And they can catch up very quickly. If they're bright kids, all they need is a little remedial, and then they, you know, a little lecture on what they missed out, which doesn't take long because they have the brain capability, and then they can just move forward. And so maybe it's something like that. But okay,
Yeah.
So another one they mentioned was low GPA. My opinion is there's reasons for it, and they're probably all a lot of the same reasons. You know?
Yeah.
So what do you think,
completely
Jason?
agree.
What do you think, Jason?
Well, I mean, like with the GPA, ultimately, like I guess I understand it, but I have my own learning disabilities. But like, yeah, when noticing that it's low, it really is like a specific effort to be able to help like pick it up. I guess like even some like I guess that's the other thing too is just when you look at a GPA, when that's like the main focus for like the education system, it's kind of like a big discouragement looking at a low GPA and knowing that no one is really respecting that because they have their expectations. So then you almost like feel like there's no hope to like even try to pick it up or try to fix it or try to change it because I don't really have the knowledge of how to do it, and then just the little like work to put in to do that, if it's even possible, if you even think that it's possible. So yeah, it's a weird thing to try to talk to someone who's like thinking about dropping out or already dropped out to say, hey, I mean that can be worked on, but not like I want to work on it.
Yeah, I think sometimes that, like with low GPA, comes the stigma of they must not be trying hard enough.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't have the resources or understand what to do to get that GPA up. You know, so it's not so much that they don't care about school; it's that they don't understand how to successfully do school. You know, because there's the specific ways to do well, you know, and you have to figure those ways out. And yeah, I also think it's interesting though that like failed courses will lead to low GPA, and low GPA will often lead to being pushed out, which is the third one, because you know, if you're not doing well in school, often there's a lot of like social stuff that goes along with that, and like those who are delinquent naturally like get in more trouble if they're not successful. You know, they're like, oh, school's a joke, and so then they're causing school, which leads to them being like pushed out. You know, and so like it's all like the same reasons go behind all of these reasons, and it all like stems from something. You know, which we need to figure out for the individual what it's stemming from, fix what's going on.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, so I have a little analogy, and I hope you guys don't mind listening for a minute, but was one day when I had a lot of little kids and my house was a total mess. Okay.
Mhm.
And you know, I was just totally overwhelmed, which I can see. You have these kids in this, you know, probably feeling like what I was. Like I sat down and cried because I had no idea where to start with the big mess my kids had made in my house. And I just couldn't do anything because it was just too much. You know, I was just frozen with, it's like you go into fight or flight and you just can't do anything. And so I was just sitting there crying, and I heard here in my mind, just go clean the bathroom, start small, go clean the bathroom. So I went and I cleaned the bathroom. And after I cleaned the bathroom, I could see, you know, some progress. And so that gave me the energy and the strength to do something else, you know, and within a few hours, you know, I had everything all cleaned up and I had fixed it. Well, a low GPA is not going to get fixed in a couple of hours. But if these educators know what the problems are, like we've been talking about what the problems are, but they could take these kids aside with a counselor, you know, and they could, you know, just set some small goals. Start with something small. Okay, we're going to work right now on you getting your grades up in this one class. Let's so that, and what that looks like is you get this assignment done, you get that assignment done, you get the next assignment done. And then you know, and then once there's a little bit of a success, it becomes contagious and they can move forward. So that's my opinion on, you know, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like
Yeah,
that.
I completely agree.
Relate a lot to that.
Okay. So I think we pretty much answered that, because the only other one we haven't answered is attendance. And I just put down, you know, why aren't they coming? Are they working to help support a family? What's going on that way, you know? So, and I think that's probably what most of us, I don't know, what do you guys, are you guys okay with that? Isn't it? Or do you have any other ideas on attendance?
That's great.
Okay. So number 3, another suggestions is for districts to go Moneyball, and basically how would having statistics about students' needs and things like that, how would that increase graduation rate?
Well, with knowledge comes action, you know? And so like this Moneyball thing is saying that like we need to be more public with it, because it relates it to sports, you know, and everybody knows the scores of sports and who's in sport and stuff, but nobody knows about these kids. Nobody knows, like nobody's talking about it. And I think people have a hard time talking about the things that they don't know what to do about. But like even just being in this class and being more educated with like all the social problems that are going on with delinquency, like I get so fired up and I'm like, yeah, let's do something. This is what we could do. And so I think there'd be a lot more happening to fix these problems if more people were truly educated and not just like, oh, people are dropping out, because then people get stereotypical and they're like, oh, well, they should just try harder, you know. But if they knew the statistics and stuff, and they knew and understand, like we're coming to know and understand, they would get fired up about it too. And then maybe more would start happening. And whatever the people get fired up about, the government pays attention to. And so if we could get the government to pay attention, maybe we could fix a little more. There's my spiel.
I think that's a great answer. I totally agree with that. Okay, so we're also supposed to come up with what kind of statistics they would need. And so some of mine are like just some of the same other things as what's going on in their lives that's causing this. Do they have a DED or a LD, you know, a disabled, you know, are they disabled or do they have a learning difficulty or whatever? So what do you guys have to add?
I also thought about like conditions at home, but also disabilities as well. Anything like that psychologically or biologically that would ultimately affect their, I guess, their motivation or their ability to actually like succeed.
Okay. Another one I'd written down was in poverty. Are they in poverty? And what level of educations are the students truly at? What is their true educational level? You know, with the testing. So get some statistics about the testings that they've been through. You know,
Mhm.
and then you know, what's the neighborhood like? What's going on around them that could be, you know, is a kid being traumatized every day by seeing a murder or an attempted murder? Things like that, because kids who are traumatized, they're in fight or flight all the time and they can't learn. You know,
Mhm.
so, you know, probably mental health would be a big, what mental health challenges do they have? Because I can guarantee you, you know, like we watched, well, this is for another class. I watched this, this class about getting kids out in nature and what it does for their ability to learn, you know, just going outside and playing outside and how it improves their education. But what I saw on there that really shocked me was this kid just kind of matter of factly saying, yeah, it's really nice to get away from the drive-by shootings and stuff like that. I mean, if you were watching drive-by shootings every day, what do you think your ability to learn would be? Did you end up seeing any of that when you were on your mission, Marissa?
I never saw a shooting. I heard gunshots a lot, and I'd hear stories, and it mostly wasn't gunshots. I saw some pretty a lot of violence, especially like grandfathers towards their granddaughters that they're like kind of
Abusing, yeah, sexual abuse. Did you see a lot of
Yeah, I
sexual
never
abuse?
saw sexual abuse, but I would not be surprised if it was happening in that home. But yeah, lots of just violence and yelling, and I don't know, I'm a sensitive soul, so like watching that was really hard for me. And I can't imagine growing up in an environment like that where that's normal. You know, that's got to be, even if they're used to it, that's got to be traumatizing somehow to the core, you know?
So
And
it only takes seeing something one time to get PTSD. Once. Somebody can be sexually abused once and end up with PTSD. This is the things that I'm learning in my classes, you know. One time of seeing a murder and a kid, depending on the person, you know, like it's probably, I think about, I don't know whether it's like 25% of the people. And actually, one thing that I was surprised about was ADHD can be developed because of abuse. People can end up with ADHD because of abuse.
for a lot of like, I don't know if ADHD is considered a mental illness, but a lot of mental illness comes from, well, it is mental. Okay.
Yes, it is considered a mental illness. I mean, I don't know whether it's considered necessarily an illness, but it does come under the mental health field. That's who diagnoses it.
Yeah.
Is a psychologist, you know, a mental health psychologist diagnoses PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, family doctors can too, but anymore they send kids to, you know, like a psychologist for testing. They send everything out to specialists anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does come over, ADHD does come over the, you know, under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow,
this is a little like off topic from the question, but I also learned in one of my classes that like PTSD is a result of not being able to get through what process is it?
the grieving process. Grieving?
But kind of like the grieving process, but also like the shock process. You know, like when someone scares you and you're like, whoa, and then like, you know, you go through this process of calming down and stuff like that. And so like PTSD comes from not being able to complete that process because you feel like so threatened that you never get to the calm down phase of of the incident. And so it constantly replays because your body and your mind are trying to finish and they don't know how to finish the shock phase. And so that's why they have flashbacks. That's why there's panic attacks, because they keep going back to that moment of initial shock and scaredness because they can't finish it. You know, so like, I know this is a little off topic, but well, it's not off topic. It's off the topic of the question. But like something that could help these kids with PTSD is maybe some like type of like recreational therapy or just like talking therapies that could help them get through the process so that they can move on and therefore do better in education, do better in their social life. I don't know, there could be a lot of benefits from that.
Well, I can promise you, and Jason's probably getting bored here, but I can promise you that talk therapy is not going to get somebody through PTSD because you're looking at a PTSD person. What you have to be able to do, honestly, is to be able to get into, you know, like during REM sleep, your body processes things like that. And I think that's part of why you can never get to that shock, because I've never been a good sleeper. I've always been a really light sleeper, and I never really get into that REM sleep very well, you know? And so one of the things that helped me was things that simulate the REM sleep state, like rapid eye movement therapy and EMDR, and just things that can get into that. Because like you have your conscious mind, you're like outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1 by what your subconscious can do. You know, like your conscious mind works at one speed and your subconscious mind works at 40, you know, like it's like 40,000 or something. And your subconscious mind works like at 40 million bits per second or something like that. And so you're so outnumbered by that subconscious mind that your conscious mind can't even break into your subconscious. And so you have to have something that gets you in to your subconscious mind to be able to get rid of that, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to find some kind of a therapy for PTSD. Talk therapy is not going to do it. So anyhow,
I don't know.
so should we move on?
Helped me.
Now what?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said talk therapy helped me a lot.
Oh, it
So
did?
I think it depends on.
Maybe it does depend on the person. Maybe I can't say that absolutely. But for me, that
However,
does
I don't think
not help.
I'm fully through it, but
What?
like I don't think I'm through the PTSD yet, but like it helped progress. So.
Well, and for
Anyway, next question.
I think Jason's probably going crazy or whatever. But
we're getting fired up over here. He's just listening.
Charlie,
well, I don't understand.
I thought she was talking to us for a second.
Yes, you can. Goodbye.
No.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say about that, okay? And then we'll move on. Healing from stuff like that, I'm probably quite a bit older than you. It's like peeling back an onion, okay? Yeah. You've got some layers gone, but sometimes something's going to trigger the next layer. And then you're going to peel back another layer on that onion called PTSD. Yeah. So just remember I said that to you, okay? When you get
that makes sense.
When you get into some position that brings that back, then remember, oh yeah, I'm just peeling off a new layer. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So question 4, several of the people interviewed said they also need districts to look at more statistics than just the graduation rate. What other factors do you think districts should look at that would influence educational outcomes?
I think honestly, similar to the factors looking at for the statistics in the last question.
Yeah.
Disability
I think so too, but I'm thinking
rates, poverty.
I think they need IEP records. I think they need middle school progress, middle and junior high progress. their home life, neighborhood, community dropout rates from the past. And then going into the future, I think that they need to do some longitudinal studies that track the success rates or failure rates of people who have gone through the programs that they set up, and figure out, ask the people, okay, so what was it that caused you to succeed, or why do you think you failed? Why do you think this happened? What do you think wasn't addressed that would have helped you to succeed? So that's my next. Jason, you didn't really say much on the last question. What do you have to say?
I thought outside of it, more like a sociological point of looking at like their social group, their peers inside of school, but also outside as well. I know that plays a huge, major role in ultimately their educational outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it like affect like those little points that we were just talking about of everything just correlating together with GPA to absences, like overall those kind of influences we follow through with because of friends or whoever we look up to, really lead to whether we want to go to class or not, which then affects the grade, which then affects overall GPA, which then really just kills motivation in general.
Yeah.
I just got a 10-minute warning, just so you guys know. So do you have something to say on this one, Marissa? Like the meeting's going to close in 10 minutes or less.
That covers it.
Okay, so let's go on to the last one.
Yeah, we can move on.
Let's go on to the last one. What if the high school diploma had to match what you needed to get into college? Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
No.
You don't think that?
Oh, wait. I read.
Oh, okay. Do you think a high school diploma should be all that's needed for college admission? And I say no. Is that what you're saying? Is no?
Well, give me your opinion first. I don't know if I have an opinion yet. So tell me what you think.
Okay, so my opinion is that there should be testing to get into college. And the reason there is because even if they up the standards and they say that every college graduate is going to know enough to go right to college. And the problem is they're having problems right now with people complying with the standards. Like some people have lowered the standards, like the article said. And then there's always going to be somebody who falls through the cracks, either through cheating or through somebody saying, oh, come on, we can do this, and getting them to get through by the skin of their teeth. So what if there's those kids and they get to college, and they're not prepared? They're really not prepared. That's why there needs to be testing. So what do you think?
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I said, what do you think?
I don't think I could have been prepared for college. Like you think it'll be one way, and then I got there and it was like totally overwhelming, and you just had to get used to it. But I think this is the beauty of like different level colleges. Like it's easier to get into a community college than it is a private college, and it's easier to get into a private college than like Harvard, And so this is the beauty of you can still get an education no matter your level. But if you want to hire in school, you got to do more. So I think for some colleges, yeah, just get a high school diploma and then you can move on and do, and not just colleges, but higher education, like the skills education stuff. I forget what that's called, but like there are that are like that, and then others that you have to do more, kind of like how it is now. And I think that's okay.
Well, that's basically what we're living with right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in other words, no change. Just keep it the way it is. So what about you, Jason?
Yeah, my only issue is like out of state in tuition. I think that's kind of stupid, but I guess that's a different topic. But ultimately, yeah, I do agree that like having it right now at like each different level of, I guess, prestige of college or university and their own like expectations for admission.
So are you saying just let people make their own decisions and not have and not have the government step in on that?
Like keeping it things how they are right now.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, some people, I had a cousin who did terrible. She's just a terrible test taker, terrible on the ACT and SAT. And so they wouldn't even let her into BYUI, which is a lot of people get, but she had her high school diploma. And so like for those people who have a hard time with stuff like that, they still need a higher education. And so there needs to be options for them.
Well, and there are right now, technical schools and things like that. Yeah. And, I really honestly think that schools should be free. I've heard a lot of hype about the national wanting to take away, the SAT and the ACT, the government wanting to make high school graduation that, hey, if you graduated from high school, you get to go to college. Well, I don't agree with that because I think colleges should be, it's their school. They're not public funded most of the time. Well, they are, but they should be allowed to decide what standards that they want of the students that attend their colleges.
Yeah, I understand that.
So anyhow, that's why I'm saying no, that the diploma shouldn't have to be, shouldn't be all that's needed. I mean, it can be, but it shouldn't be. But anyhow, looks like we're going to be done. We're running out of time. So anyhow, I appreciate the great conversation. I feel like I learned quite a bit from you guys. So thank you. And does one of you want to commit to doing the meeting for next week? Hosting it?
So when are we going to do a meeting? Because it's Thanksgiving.
Well,
I mean, I can do it if we do it on Monday or Tuesday. If we don't do it on Monday or Tuesday, I probably won't attend the meeting next week, to be honest.
Okay. I don't know that I can be ready that early. What about you, Jason? Do you think we ought to just
do it ourselves next week?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering. I don't know. I can do one on Friday. I don't know though. My family's going to be here, but I can do a quick one later in the week, or even Saturday morning. I can do a quick one on Saturday morning. Huh?
But
what did
I'll be
you
traveling
say?
Saturday.
No, so you don't think you could hit it with your cell phone and just kind of discuss something in the car? Is that kind of hard for you?
I mean, I'll be driving because I get really bad. No, I just get really bad motion sickness because I'm pregnant.
Oh, me too. Woo.
So I have to drive the whole time. So
yeah. Okay. Well, then, what do you think, Jason?
I am always free, and even if I step aside from my family and friends, they understand.
Okay. All right. Maybe I better just send out an email and see what people could do next week. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll just talk to you guys next week, and thanks for the meeting, and we'll catch you later.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.